everybody. Welcome back to From Crisis to Justice. I'm your host, Parag Amin. I'm here with a very special guest, Yair Klyman. He's the founder of Klyman Financial, and he's passionate about helping mid to high net worth individuals find their way to generational success. He helps teach professionals how to take what they've built in their careers and transform it into generational wealth. Yair, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Parag. Really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, so tell us a little bit about how you got into this. Why did you choose to help professionals with their financial wealth and building wealth?
So I started with a little different background. Most people in my world, and we're Orthodox Jewish, so most people in the Orthodox Jewish community is looked at as being very financially literate, understanding finances, being very educated on finances. That actually was not our scenario. My dad had a stack of credit cards, he actually won the award for the most maxed out credit cards when we went to a charity to help us. So we actually had to learn financial literacy when we had no literacy. It's like being forced to learn a different language when you're in a foreign country. So we actually had to learn financial literacy from nothing. We never read it from books. We didn't really understand it. And we went through the traditional wealth trap that you live this life, you're used to a current life, and then all of a sudden you change your lifestyle a little bit. So my parents weren't religious. They went to a religious lifestyle, and now you have to pay for private school. You have to live in a house that's near a synagogue. So things are much more expensive, and we couldn't keep up with the new lifestyle we chose. So when that happens, when that transition happens, it's the constant person of they make a lot of money and then they go into this new lifestyle and they can't keep up the lot of money that they need to keep up in the lifestyle, and then they lose it all. So we kind of had that to us on a micro level, and then you really learn, and you realize as a young kid when you're 10 years old and your dad's telling you can't go to camp with all the other kids because you can't afford it. And you really learn that it's not a great feeling, and you learn financial literacy. You learn how to help people, and you learn how to get people through stages of life and to the next level in their finances. So right now we have a very serious financial services book. We help people get to the next level and build resilient wealth, building wealth that doesn't just get lost once you make it. That's really where we like to go to.
Wow. I love that. So in your childhood, you went from your parents were doing well, you were feeling well, everything was going relatively smoothly, to kind of like a financially troubled area, right?
Yeah. I mean, we lost everything, like everything and everything.
So you were about 10 years old when all of that happened?
Yeah, it was like 10. Yeah, we were about 10.
What was that transition like? What was that conversation with your family like?
My parents were very big on, you're going to be independent regardless. So for us, it was just like, okay, now I have to go out and work. Like when you're told, hey, I want to go to camp, and your dad says, hey, we're in a recession, and you're like, I don't even know what a recession is. I'm 10. And then you realize, like, okay, I have to start babysitting, and I start selling sodas in school, and I start doing whatever you can. It actually was a freeing moment that my dad, instead of hiding it from us, actually opened it up to the whole family. And at the time, there were 6 kids, but he was very open with us, and it actually gave us a level of empowerment that we are in charge of our own lives at a very young age. I felt it freeing, and my siblings also felt it freeing. So we all worked really hard because my parents were in it together. It wasn't one of those things. So like, you drive to Florida instead of fly to Florida to save $100, which is nowadays, it's crazy. Now I like look for better flights so I could sleep better, which is a very different lifestyle that I have now. But I would say if you're forced to mature at a young age, you typically mature.
Yeah, absolutely. The trial by fire and making it. And that's amazing that your father and your mother had that foresight to tell you that you're independent and that you can make it on your own. So tell us a little bit more about, the transition from your 10-year-old. Now, at some point you decided, look, I don't want this to happen to other people. You're going to take the crises that you faced in your own life and turn it into something positive by helping others. How did you make that transition into starting your own firm?
So I got lucky. I realized that obviously you can't learn from my parents, and you have a similar story to me, which I guess that's why we get along. I can't learn this from my parents, so I have to go learn from other people. And the only way to learn from other people is if you start talking to people, you start networking, you start engaging with other people, and you just become this level of, you become a good person, good things happen to good people, and you become coachable. And once you become coachable and you become likable and enjoyable and positive all the time and like happy, people tend to want to mentor you. So I was able to start businesses. In college, I was making about $100,000 a year in cash, working like 15 hours a week. So I started making money really quickly once I finished the army. I came back. I was in the U.S. and then I have to put myself through school, so I had to make money. One thing led to another, and then the old estate planning specialist from Merrill Lynch, who went off on his own, actually became my client in a fitness business, a prior business I had before. He then took me and basically taught me how to build a financial services business, just because he didn't have any successors. And it's so common that business owners, and if you're a likable, approachable person in a good community, other people will come up to you. You don't have to live in your station. There's other people that are looking for successors, are looking for mentees, not just looking for mentors. And if you're somebody that can be coached, it's actually, it can lead a lot to success. I was always open, and I still am. I'm always open to coaching, and I love feedback, and I love advice, and I got thick skin. And there's nothing I enjoy more than getting my ass kicked, and sorry for cursing, but I have to. But there's nothing I enjoy learning more than getting my ass kicked and rebuilding and getting better and better. And I think that's the people I like to work with the most. The people that get knocked down and then can build right back up, and knock down and build right back up, but get built up bigger and better and stronger.
Yeah. Do you think that resilience is something that people are born with, or that they develop over time?
I think it's something that you have to develop. I think you have a personality, and I think there's moments in your life where there's these defining moments, these moments in your life that you can either choose to stay in your comfort zone or switch over to a discomfort and take risk. So it's like, you're married, right, with kids? What's the biggest
Yes,
risk?
that's right.
What's the biggest risk you ever took in your life? Getting married.
In my life? Right. Yeah.
Getting married. I felt the same. But why is it such a big risk? Because you took from a comfort level, single, I can control everything, I got no problem. And all of a sudden, you take that big risk, you go into marriage, and how much happier are you now, or unhappy, or like more fulfilled? And you said you do have kids or don't have kids?
I have one kid.
All right, you have one kid. So how much better is your life now than it was before? So you took the risk of going into the unknown, and those moments in life teach you to become resilient. The stronger the moment, I find, typically the more resilient the person is.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with you. I think there's a part of going through something that you weren't sure you would be willing or able to go through, and coming out on the other side of it builds that resilience regardless. It becomes almost an automatic process as long as you're willing to take that journey. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the journey is the key. And it's also like, if you're someone who likes the journey, it's a lot more fun. Like, life sucks if you're just like tagging along somebody else driving. Every single time you get in the car, you sit in the back seat or the passenger seat. It gets boring. Like, you gotta run your own life. You gotta go through some drama. You gotta have some fun in life. You gotta live your best life. That's really the main goal. And getting up every day and doing something, you might not know what you're doing that day, but you might as well make it a good one, because you're gonna fall asleep at the end of the day, and you're gonna be tired the next day. I just think if you have a moment in life, just use it to the best of its ability.
100% agree with you. So let's talk a little bit about the idea of coaches and guidance. You mentioned that you had this business, I think it was in college, that you were doing this business, you were doing relatively well, and this mentor showed you the next level. So for our listeners who are looking for mentor or guidance, what advice do you have for them on finding the right mentor and keeping them, knowing which mentors to really double down on and trust?
I found finding mentors that are most similar to you typically get attracted to you. I had on my podcast Corey Anderson. He's the Bellator light heavyweight champion of the world. He just won it like last week, and he also was just a good person. And he said mentors just come to you because if you do good, mentors will come to you. But I think it's actually a little bit further than that. I think if you have the right values and you can assess that, okay, we both believe in family. We both believe in charity. We both believe in relationships. We both have those similar values. You can start relating to somebody a little bit better. So first doing a values assessment of your mentor and your mentor of you. So knowing what your values are, find someone else who's there. And the second is, there's a lot of life coaches out there that make no money and they're coaching people how to live their life. I know a life coach, he's literally been divorced 3 times. He has no money. He's constantly depressed and he's coaching people. He's like hitting them up for like $1,000 an hour. It's like a joke. And like, how could you possibly use that person as a life coach? Now, I'm not saying life coaches are bad, but I'm saying my goal is to have somebody more successful than me. You're an attorney. You're not going to go learn from an attorney who works at a corporate law shop. It just doesn't make sense for you. You need an attorney that actually works and owns their own practice, that learned how to build a practice and grow a practice. That's a similar valued person. So one is finding a trajectory that you want to be on. What are you solving for? What is your goal? Is it to have a successful law firm that gives you quality of life? And you find somebody that has a successful law firm, has quality of life, has family, and do they fit the same values as you? Because it's not nice to be around assholes just because they have money.
Completely agree with you. So, in terms of the advice that you've gotten from your mentors, what would you say is one of the best pieces of advice that you've gotten from one of your mentors?
I'm thinking about it. It's a great question. I would say to love yourself. That's what I would say. It's the Aristotle love thyself concept. I think Aristotle said it, but I'm not a philosopher. Every day you have to, when you're working for yourself and you're doing this on your own, you have to be your number one biggest fan. If you wake up every day and go, oh, I'm a piece of shit or whatever it is, and you try to grow and try to build, it's very, very hard. But if every day you go, you know what, I'm the man, I'm doing great things for people, and you're motivated and you're really helping people and you're taking people from crisis to justice and you're really changing the world, and you say, like, that's me, that's what I embolden every single day, you can never be more. You need self-promotion. Nobody else can influence you. But if you're down every single day, the external supports and motivators don't last. But internally, you have to have that internal motivation every single day.
I love that. That is so powerful. Because I think part of the issue in the Instagram world or the social media world is all of us see somebody else's highlight reels, and it looks like somebody else's life is perfect all the time. And we take bits and pieces of other people's lives, and we take the highlight reel of one person's life and then another person's life and another person's life. But it makes it look like everybody is going through great times, and we're the only ones struggling when we have those down times. Have you ever felt like that? And what do you do when you get into those slumps?
So we have a family of some like mental illness. So I'm super cognizant of mental illness. I don't really have those slumps. And the reason is, and sometimes I do obviously have challenges, like I'm less motivated than other days, or I'm tired or whatever it is, but I don't really have those. And it's because I've set up barriers to protect myself from those moments. And I've set up that I exercise 3 days a week and I never miss. I don't drink soda. I don't eat sugar. I don't have candies. I don't have cakes off. Like I'm very, very calculated. I go on the right trips. We have a good life. We live comfortably. Like we live below our means. I set up boundaries to protect myself from where mental illness can sneak up. So I spend a lot of preventative. So I wish to say that I have those days and this is how I get out of it. But I'm because my family has mental health issues, like my brother, and I'm very careful, and I've seen it firsthand. I set myself up to surround myself with those obstacles. Like if you want to have more friends, like my brother doesn't have a lot of friends. It's because he's not a good friend. But for me, I realize if I want to have friends, I have to reach out to people and become friends. So what I do is I have, like, whenever I go on a walk with my son and I'm pushing him in the stroller or whatever, I call my friends and I call people that I want to connect with and I just chat. I don't text. I spend the time I know I need friends in my life. I know I want to have good friends. I know it makes me happy and fulfilled. So I spend the time to do that. and it keeps me balanced. And that's really my goal, is to constantly make sure that I don't fall into the slump. So I preventative myself. And even that when people pass away, I don't typically get so sad, and I deal with death all the time. I don't get so sad. And that's really, and that's why for me, I've been successful in my career so far. And I'm just really just warming up, is because I have that stability that people are looking for, that when they're going up and down, they know that they have a strong force that can hold them. It's really similar to being an attorney. It's like, you don't want to call your attorney's whining about how tough their day is. You want your attorney to be rock solid all the time. Like, you're going through the most challenging points in your life, that your business is going through hell, and you need your attorney to be your rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Being that voice of reason and being the safety net for others requires a certain level of strength and fortitude for yourself. So that's great that you're taking care of yourself and you're aware of that, because I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of young professionals, as I'm sure you've seen, end up not learning that until much later, and it comes at a much higher cost. And they end up losing a lot in the meantime before they figure out something you figured out at a relatively young age. So, with your business, can you tell us about, have you ever had any challenges in your business, and how did you, if you did, how did you end up coming out of those? How did you find the right guidance to be able to find your way out?
Yeah, so I'm in the sales world. That's really what I'm in, and I'm in the, people say, oh, well, we're in the advisory world or the strategic. We're in sales. We're looking to provide values to clients. If I could be the smartest person in the world, but if nobody ever wants to talk to me, who cares how smart I am? I could write 100 books, but if nobody reads it, it doesn't make a difference. So I found a challenge at the beginning, that I found people that were telling me, go out and network and cold call and do this, and that's how to build a business. But I felt it didn't feel comfortable to me. And I didn't feel like it was right. And I remember I was dating somebody at the time, and I said to her, I really supportive person. And I said to her, I said, like, I'm in this business. I've been in it for 6 months, and I'm not making any money. Like, I'm not making any money. And she says, okay, so change your station, like, change what you're doing. So what I did was, I said, okay, it doesn't feel good when I go into a room and there's 7 other financial advisors in the room. So I'm going to only be in a room where there's one other where I'm the only financial advisor in there. Might be less groups. I don't feel good in a room when there's 25 people just trying to get jobs. So what I did was, I went to paid events to network that I had to actually pay. And I paid a lot of money to get into those events. So I went, okay, so now I can narrow out, there's people here with money. There's people here that value their time. And then there's none of my competitors. And then the second thing was, the first question I asked them is, how can I help you? How can I help you? And how can I help build your network? So once I realized what doesn't work, I quickly changed it to working what does. And I realized I don't like to cold call, because I feel I'm like a unique person. I have unique values. I provide a lot of value to people. We have a line out the door of clients who are trying to come in and use us as advisors. So I find, why would I cold call? It just makes me feel worse. And then why would I be around 10 other advisors that, like, that just, then it's just weird. It's like dog eat dog world. Like, it's uncomfortable. And then also, I want to be with people who are looking to grow. And so I surround myself with those types of people.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things you touched upon is something that you and I also have in common, is this idea of being of service to others. You in the financial services world, in the professional world, me in the legal services world. Can you touch a little bit upon why that level of service or that attitude of service is so important?
People know when you care. And in the end of the day, if you can't provide responsiveness and caring and empathy towards people, like, what's your life worth? And lawyers get a bad rap, financial advisors and financial money managers get a bad rap, but people still need our services. And if you're somebody who actually cares for their clients, and I do, and I really put my heart into it, and I know you, because we've done business together, I know you put your heart into it. You really, if you care for your clients and you empathize with your client, and you live to serve, and that at this moment in time they have chosen you to take the place and fill the void that they can't fill themselves. For me, it's financial. Clients, they don't know what to do with their finances. They don't know how to optimize it. They don't know how to take advantage of tax strategies. For lawyers, they don't know how to represent themselves against the legal system. So they have to have somebody to fill that void. They have to find a partner. And if they find someone who can really represent them on their best interest, the question I get all the time is, are you a fiduciary? What does that question mean? Do I work in your best interest 10 times out of 10? And the answer is yes. I always will work in your best interest. It might make me less money today, but I promise you I will make 10 times more money tomorrow because I keep working in the right way of other people. And I'm not getting sued. I'm not dealing with all this crap, and I'm not getting fired. And I in the luxury now this year, I opened up my book to allow, I got rid of 25 clients, and I opened up my book to allow for better clients and better people, because when you have a line out the door, you have to be very selective and very specific with your time. If you find a good advisor, attorney, financial, accounting, you treat them like gold. Even if you're paying them, you treat them like gold, because if they go away from you, you don't realize how hard it is to replace a good advisor.
100%. Yeah. And speaking of advisors, one of the things that my office runs into quite a bit is partnership issues, partnership disputes, just because unfortunately, sometimes there's a sense of somebody is the right fit and is a good advisor, but it turns out that maybe their life situation has changed, or maybe they're just not who somebody thought they were. I know that you have gotten into business relationships as well. I know one of the things that you're doing now is also working with your father, which is incredible. Can you touch a little bit upon that and how you structure that relationship, and is it formalized in a contract or anything to make sure that the bounds stay in place so that your father and you have a clear roles and responsibilities and understanding of
Yeah,
how you're
absolutely.
working together?
I also do it with all clients too. We have something called, like, we have something called an upfront contract. It's the crucial part of everything. I said to my dad when he was first coming in, I said, listen, we have our past, we have our this, we have our that, but I'm not going to come in like you're coming in to join my company, and like, we have a son-father relationship. I'll respect you as my dad, but I'm the CEO of this company. And if you're okay with that, then we'll get to work. And he's made 3 times more money with me than he's ever made in the peak of his career every year. I mean, it's incredible how his success. And because we have this relationship, and we do the same thing with our clients, this is what to expect from us, and we will deliver. So if we scale it out and we write it out and we say, this is what to actually expect, and we have contracts with our clients, you have contracts with your employees, you have contracts with everything. There's no debate anymore, because it's all like, hey, we spoke about this. This is what we do. I have the same thing in networking groups with, like, my made up board of advisors, board of directors that I created for myself. We wrote up contracts that everybody had to sign to outline how we discuss, how we talk, and do it that way. If you can do that from the beginning, ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. And you do litigation, but it is nice to actually see a clients like partnerships last for 30, 40 years.
100%. And that's what I advise all my clients to do, and I advise all of your listeners to do, is make sure you have clear guidelines and agreements in writing, because I think it's much easier to solve a problem when it's still a hypothetical problem than an actual problem. Do you agree with that?
It's uncomfortable, but what's really uncomfortable is litigation. That's really uncomfortable. So, like, if you can't get it through a simple contract with somebody and get things in writing, you really want to spend more time with that person than your spouse, and you really want to bank your family's future and your finances and your freedom off of this other person. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he super wealthy. I mean, like, he's probably worth 200 or 300 million. And when he first started his business, he was in partnership with somebody who he thought was super successful, was his mentor that he thought. And he finds out that the guy was signing his name and personally guaranteeing different like investments and his boat. And he was personally guaranteeing this guy's name, my friend's name. And it was like, it blew me away. And he had to go around the world to talk to the people that he was signing under and get himself out of these contracts that's this other guy signed for him. The other guy eventually went to jail. But, like, you have to make sure, if you can get an upfront contract with somebody, it's crucial, and it's going to cost you $2-3 grand. Who cares? You're having a business. Like, be an adult and get your documents in line. Like, get everything controlled, get everything organized.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the issues is people seem to have an intuitive sense of that when it's the third party. It's not a family member. It's not a friend. It's somebody that you're doing business with who you met through somebody else or something like that. There's more distance between them as opposed to a closer relationship like friends or family. Can you touch a little bit upon that? Like, what do you think it is about that discomfort that makes people not want to have that conversation? And do you have any thoughts based on your own experience of how to best have that conversation while still respecting that family relationship?
A few things that we did was first, and I can only speak of my experiences. First, what we did was we got an office that was separate from my mom, my dad, like from their house, from my house. We were separate. A lot of what we talk about, we don't talk about with our family. We keep things distant at the table. Like we don't only talk business, and we do like to talk about business. And obviously, there's challenges and obstacles as business comes along. So you could talk about it forever at home. That's really important. Those are like simple guidelines, but also when you start hiring employees and you start building a business, because the goal is not to just have a partnership between two people. They're going to want to make sure that everything is organized. There's nothing worse than coming to a company and going, yeah, there were a bunch of family members and I don't feel like I'm like outside, like I'm not in the family or I'm not in the boys club or whatever it is. When you have things formalized, it actually will incentivize your employees to want to work for you because they know it's a legitimate business. I love working with family. Like, I think it's amazing. It's been great for me, but it is challenging. We haven't had challenges, but it is challenging for a lot of people because there's no formalization. If you want your business to thrive, make sure it's a business. This is not a personal handshake. And like property, you put properties. Now, what happens if somebody passes away, unfortunately, and the business is down? So a perfect example is very common. Two brothers are working in a business. They each contribute 50-50 to the business. One of the brother dies. And the other brother's wife goes to her brother-in-law and says, hey, where's my monthly income? And he goes, okay, here it is. And then 2 months later, she comes back, she goes, okay, where's my monthly income? And the business has dropped 50% in value because he passed away. So the next thing you know, she keeps asking, and he's like trying to keep the business going. He's trying to support his own family because he just lost 50% of the business. And now he has to support her. And because there was just a handshake of family, there's really not much there. If you have a real structure of a business, then you have buy-sell agreements, you have things like that. That these are things that you can't see. These are unforeseen things. This will happen. In chances are of somebody getting sick or passing away are very high in 40 years of business. It's a really big opportunity, really big chance. What happens if somebody has a mental breakdown? What do you do in those scenarios? This has nothing to do with family. It has to do with business and professionalism. I'll bring it back. Get the right attorney that will advise you on these. If your attorney's not telling you what the pitfalls are of a business, then find another attorney. LegalZoom will not tell you that. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I know that sounds self-interested for me to say that, but I'll tell you, when it comes to litigation, because that's primarily what we handle anyways, it becomes so much more expensive when clients have used LegalZoom or some online contract that they found off Google, because many times it's just not customized to actually what they need and doesn't really think through many of the major issues that they're going to run into if they're actually scaling a real business. I mean, look, if it's not going to end up being a real business, then okay, maybe don't spend money on it. But I'd say that if you're actually looking at it as a serious business, I think it definitely makes sense. Similar to the financial world, Yair, let me ask you this. People who are listening to this want to potentially work with you. Who are what kind of clients are you taking on, and what kind of things do you help them do?
Well, we look for clients who are looking to get to the next level of their finances. So if you're let's say making $1 million a year and trying to get to $2 million a year, that's the person we're talking to. If you're someone who's going, you know what, I made a lot of money and now I'm trying to retire, that's the person we're talking to. If you're the person that's going, okay, well, I just finished residency and now I'm going to be there, I'm starting to make money, that's the person we're talking to. The people who are looking to get to the next stage and really challenge themselves, those are really the clientele that we want to work with. That's not a dollar sign. That's not a asset minimum. That's really what it is. It's when people are looking to add an advisor to help to push them to the next level because they know they can't fill that role. That's really who we look for. And they find us on our website, klymanfinancial.com. We give our clients our cell phones. It's not like we're hiding behind anything. They can call my cell phone directly. 201-640-6905. I got nothing to hide. That's really who we work with, is people in general who are looking to build resilient wealth, not just looking to make some money.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So where can the listeners find you on social media or LinkedIn?
So they can go on LinkedIn, my Yair Klyman, Yair, Klyman, Klyman. They can also listen to our podcast, Resilient Riches. That's on all the major platforms across wherever you subscribe to podcasts and things like that. But we're really just around. We're constantly networking. We're constantly giving a lot of free advice, how to build your business, how to build wealth, what we did for ourselves to either get ourselves out of debt and to net worth of many, many millions of dollars, and how to get people from many millions of dollars to tens of millions of dollars. And we've seen it all. We have clients who are billionaires. We have clients who are just starting out making some money and looking to grow. And that's really who we work with. And that's really what we like to do. And it's the most fun.
Wow. Yeah, and that really is the key, right? You seem to really enjoy what you do, seem to love what you do, and I think that shows in the type of work and service you provide to your clients.
Yeah. How many people you speak to that go, oh, I wish everyone says the same line, like, I wished I worked another day on my deathbed. Like, nobody says that on their deathbed. But I actually think, like, because me and you are in this business, and if you are in the service business, you are actually talking to people, and they're all going to give you their advice. And you hear from 5, 10, 20, 30 people. They keep saying the exact same thing, like, don't kill yourself. Like, your family's more important. Your lifestyle's more important. You realize you just got to have fun, and you got to have fun in everything you do. If it's work, if it's personal, if it's your finances, like, you just got to live your life, enjoy live it to the best of its ability. You only got one of them. So I don't want to say YOLO because I'm not a pop star, but like, you really want to just enjoy and do what you can in life to live your best life. That's really my feeling.
I 100% agree with that. Yair, thank you so much for joining us today. For the Crisis to Justice podcast. Like and subscribe. We're going to have a lot more content coming through, including amazing guests like Yair, who can help save you, your business, and your legacy.
Thank you, Parag, for having me. From Crisis to Justice, love the name, and appreciate and look for seeing your success in the stars.
Thank you, Yair.
Bye.